Hey guys, how's it going? Well, in this video, I'm going to share what I'm going to call Vandweller stories. And basically, I'm going to talk about three different groups of people. The first story is Tyler and Sarah, a couple living in a van with two dogs in around where I live in Vancouver. And their story of how they're doing it in the urban setting. The second one is Steve, who talks about how he transitioned into a van out of kind of like a necessity situation. And the third one is David, who is using the van life to escape from the corporate world from which he was making $90,000 a year. And now he's much happier, making a lot less and having freedom. So let's begin. The story of Sarah and Tyler. Two gainfully employed millennials and two dogs living in East Vancouver sounds like a bit of a parody of the city's out-of-control housing market. But for Sarah and Tyler, it works. "We've got a system pretty down pat," said Tyler. "It's comfortable." The couple had been renting a condo in Mount Pleasant, but 7 months ago, inspired in part by the growing community of Vancouver, Vandwellers sharing their stories on YouTube, they decided to downsize. "We pared down a lot," said Tyler. "We got rid of a bunch of our furniture, got rid of a bunch of clothes, and a bunch of stuff that you just end up shoving into a closet, never thinking about again." It's not that the pair couldn't afford to keep living in a more traditional housing arrangement. It's more that they didn't want to. "We've always been kind of into the tiny home living kind of thing," said Sarah. Sarah estimates that the couple is able to save roughly $25,000 a year by living in a camper van, which includes a small kitchen with a pantry and a refrigerator, a sleeping area, and a small bathroom, but not much else. Those savings could one day be put toward a down payment on a house or some other large purchase, but for now the two have no interest in doing that. "I think way down the road we might think about settling down some roots, but I like the fact that we're so mobile and we can go wherever we want," said Tyler. "I don't see us changing our situation." Mobility and savings aren't the only benefits of living in a van. Both Sarah and Tyler said the lifestyle is freer. They worry less, they get out more, and they even end up eating healthier. "Having less space to store food means shopping more frequently and eating fresher," said Sarah. "There's also an element of community in van living. Other van dwellers often recognize what Sarah and Tyler are doing before more settled Vancouver residents do, and the couple sees campers everywhere now that they know what to look for." Sarah said the couple's scaled-down lifestyle hasn't hurt the relationship either. In fact, it's had the opposite effect. "If we had a tumultuous relationship or something, it might be pretty hard to live in this van, but we don't have that issue," she said. "Living together closer actually brings you closer." The story of Steve. One of the greatest questions I get asked most frequently is, why? I mean, couldn't you get an apartment with friends? Move back in with your parents? Do something else? Anything else besides living in a van? People live in their vans for a variety of reasons. Some are forced into it because of bad circumstances, like I was. Some pick it up as a lifestyle for a few months to a few years in order to travel the country. I never understood the stigma with this, as many people do this only in an RV or trailer. Some people do it to save money or get away from the grind of working to live and living to work to afford the mortgage payment. There are many different reasons for it. But one thing all van dwellers have in common is an incredibly positive attitude and outlook on life, which is a key element to making it work. As for my own situation, I had ended up finding out the house myself and a few friends were living in was about to be foreclosed on, something very common in this economy. Two roommates decided to get a condo. One roommate decided to move back with his parents. I didn't have either option, so I ended up with this crazy idea to create a rolling home out of a van. I did a lot of research online and found a ton of information, but a lot of it was scattered. Van dwelling seems to be a niche. The closest communities that seem to have more popularity are people who convert school and transit buses into RVs, and those that live full-time in their RVs. This combines the two just on a smaller scale. Whatever the reason for van dwelling, it is a viable lifestyle that you can make work. I've done it for over a year now, and my attitude towards it went from being cautiously optimistic to loving the freedom it's given me. I've met dozens of other people, either online or in real life, who feel the same way. The most liberating aspect, I believe, is learning to just let go of a ton of stress and having a simpler, but no less successful lifestyle. David's story. I quit my $90,000 a year job to live in a van, and it was the best decision I ever made. You're crazy. This is ridiculous. Do you have a gun? You'll freeze to death. Have you seen Into the Wild? Where will you go to the bathroom? Dude, I'm so jealous. I wish I could do that. Those are just a few of the comments I'd get when telling people I was giving up my stable, well-paying career and comfortable lifestyle as an engineer to live in a van and travel the world. Part 1. The Unhappy Career. I went to college for electrical engineering. I was in my 5th year of school when it finally dawned on me that I didn't want to be an electrical engineer. However, after accumulating 4 years of student loans and the promise of high-paying salary upon graduation, I decided the best course of action was to stick it out, collect the salary, and figure it out later. During 9 years of working in the real world, I never felt connected to my work or the companies that hired me. How could I? People were getting laid off, I was getting annual raises of 0 to 0.5%, and our company's CEOs were collecting stock options. I was answering to 3 managers, 2 project leaders, and 2 directors for a single project, and I was the lowest man on the corporate ladder. That's more like nano-management than micromanagement. Additionally, the work itself wasn't engaging or challenging. Many days I would think to myself, why are they paying me this much money to push a button? They could easily train a high schooler or an intern to do this. Yet there I was, bored to tears. Every time I thought it would get better, it never did. The only thing that improved was my salary, when I'd leave one company and go to another. Rinse and repeat 3 times in 9 years. When you're connected to your work or to the company, there's a possibility it will improve your life overall. But I wasn't happy. Not even $90,000 a year at age 31 could buy my happiness. But it did buy me something, the ability to say goodbye. For my final working year, I lived as cheaply as possible to save up my money, to buy a van, renovate it, and put enough money away for 1 year of expenses on my current standard of living, and then I quit my job. Part 2. Transitioning. 6 years before quitting, I started blogging about my first passion, athletic training and nutrition. That fizzled, but I used the knowledge I gained to start another blog about another passion, the outdoors. The blog grew quickly, and I started to get noticed by larger online magazines. I began freelance writing for these outlets and making small supplemental income, all by doing nothing more than writing about what I do in the outdoors: rock climbing, snowboarding, and traveling. The number of clients grew, and so did the payments I received. I used self-taught knowledge in online marketing to start a new branch in my freelance business, managing social media and total online presence for small startups. By the time January 2014 rolled around, I had enough clients and confidence in myself that I knew this was going to be my last year working for a huge corporation as an engineer. Part 3. The Van. The whole idea of living in a van came from the concept of dirtbagging, prevalent in the climbing world. The original dirtbags were some of the climbing legends still revered today. They live out of vans, tents, caves, anywhere that would keep them dry. Some were so poor they resorted to eating canned pet food. That was the founder of the lifestyle brand Patagonia, by the way. I became enamored with the idea of living smaller, living simpler, and not being tied to a cubicle or answering to supervisors who didn't value my ideas. Plus, it's a whole lot cheaper for someone getting by on a freelancing budget. I bought a stripped-down 2004 E350 with a 6-liter diesel engine, with a 6.0 diesel engine and extended body for $8,000. I drove it to Wisconsin and renovated it with my father for another $2,000 to $3,000 over 6 weeks. Now I'm able to live comfortably rent-free. Coincidentally, it's now an incredibly popular craze, and I receive emails daily from other people asking questions of how to build their vans, asking how I live, or just thanking me for sharing my story and giving them inspiration. Part 4. World Travels. After we finished building the van, I returned to Colorado to complete my lifestyle downsizing and put my essential items in storage. I woke up one morning and thought to myself, what's the difference between working remotely in the US or working remotely from some other country? I couldn't come up with an answer and instantly became obsessed with buying a one-way ticket to Thailand, a place I'd always dreamed of visiting for an extended rock climbing trip. 2 weeks of vacation in the corporate world just would never allow it. 10 days later, I was on a plane to Thailand, where I would spend the next 14 weeks. That was in June 2015. Since then, I've traveled to Singapore, Mexico, Canada, and Spain twice. It's hard to say where I'll go in the near future, but I'd love to explore parts of India, Norway, and return to Mexico once or twice. This kind of travel simply is not possible when you're chained to a corporate ladder. Part 5. Money can't buy happiness, but it does buy food. I've never had less money in my life, and I've never been happier. I've never felt more fulfilled in my projects and content with my life I've chosen. It has enabled me to move freely about the country whenever I feel like going on a new climbing trip or spending 10 days in the remote wilderness. I've traveled the world while working remotely, and I've been able to spend more than 2 months with my family over the past 2 years without having to ask my boss for time off. I believe this kind of freedom is at the heart of what drives millennials. No, not everyone wants to freelance or live in a van, but we want to be able to do what we want to do and still provide a worthwhile product or service to society. We are not lazy or selfish. We want to feel like we have a purpose, and when we can't get it in our current environment, we're willing to make a change. Like us or hate us, this is who we are, and this is a blueprint of how we can better work together for a higher purpose. Alright guys, well, there you have it. If this video seems successful, I will continue to make videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good night.